Today we are in the historic Sherman Hill District. If you don't know where that is, it's just west of downtown Des Moines and north of Grand. Now this is historic because it is one of the first developments inside the Des Moines Metro. It was platted out around 1880, and this listing that we have right here was built in 1883. It is so important to find out the history of these old homes because we don't want to let history die. The one way we can do that is to go through an abstract. If you don't know what an abstract's the entire history of the property. And who better to call than Matt White at Title Services? So I think it's time for me to call in a professional.
Hello Tim, how are you doing?
Hey Matt, it's Tim Scheid with Remax Precision. Hey, I've got this listing in Sherman Hill, and I have the abstract. It was built a long time ago. Do you think you could help me go through that abstract and give me a little bit of a history of it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, right now I'm at 726 18th Street. Do you happen to be anywhere near?
I'm nearby. I'm up at Smoky Row right now.
Smoky Row, awesome. Is there any way you could come down here real quick and just kind of go through it with me?
Let me just stop on down.
Good enough. We'll see you in about 10 minutes. Hey Matt, thanks for coming up on such short notice.
How are you?
Good, good. So I got the abstract back in the kitchen, so let's go check it out.
Love to do that. Beautiful house.
Yeah, love the old woodwork. There's the abstract.
There it
right
is.
There.
It's a survivor, just like the house.
All right, well, you tell me. So give me kind of like, what do you look for when you're looking at these old things?
So in a place like this, a historic place, people have been stewards of the building, the house, and they've kept it. And one of the things they keep with the house is the abstract. Mm-hmm. So every time the property is sold, someone that works like me goes in and reviews the title, and they make an entry in here. So oldest is on top, newest is on the bottom.
So they started doing this at the beginning of time, beginning of properties, right?
That's right. They sure did.
So if you really want to go deep, I know I have an abstract on my place and it talks about the Union Pacific Railroad.
Yeah.
So like it kind of gives who owned this property first. So when you look at this,
Sure.
tell me who the first owner of this was.
Let's look at that. So the first owner on this property, where it came from the United States government, is Jonathan Lyon Jr. And I believe he is a military member, and he was a colonel with I think the Louisiana Volunteer Regiment. And part of what they did was part of their pay was they got land.
Oh, okay.
And
so
that's
he may
what
not
this
even
is.
have paid for it.
Correct.
Oh.
They almost certainly didn't. So
Well, that's
when the government gives them land, it was more than just this lot, but it was more. And then when they get that land, you can go through and find out what did they do with it. Mm-hmm. And typically they sell it. And in this case, you can see that the sales started happening back in the 1840s.
So 1840 is when this land was given, right?
It was given there.
To Colonel Lyon.
Yep. And then they start to sell it to different parties. And those transactions are all chronologically summarized from the documents that were the full page deeds.
So with this one, so he got how many acres were in the original gift?
He got a full quarters. So it would be 160 acres.
Okay, so you got 160 acres. And so if we look at all these properties around here, it's all going to be pretty much the same.
Pretty much the same, yeah.
Cool.
That was part of it. They didn't bother with little tiny pieces. You probably would recall that back then these things weren't here.
Right. Yep.
It was land. It was the out west.
Yep.
This is this.
This was it.
Yeah, this was it.
That's crazy.
So they go through and start to sell that, and when you look through this, there's a number of things that happen. Let's see. There was a case back in the 1800s where there was a tussle about who owned it. There were a bunch of heirs, it looks like. Interesting. It looks like this one went all the way to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to decide who all owned it of the children and the heirs.
So of the heirs of Colonel Lyon, he passed away. So he got it in 18, did you say 46?
Yeah, and it was recorded later than that. But yeah, when it was sold, one of the first owners, when they died, there was a tussle about their ownership. So that this kind of history is what you find in an abstract.
Yep. So they break that down.
They break it down and they sorted it all out. But it's the Supreme Court. That's pretty cool.
They lay the dirty laundry right in the abstracts.
Right in there. It's all there. There are all the divorces are here.
Okay.
All the mortgages are here. Anything like that, probates, affidavits. There's a lot of not me affidavits sometimes. This is not me. There's a few dissolutions in here probably. A few deeds, and eventually they'll start making platting of what the lots look like, what they're called, out of that bigger piece. They start carving it up and making the equivalent of subdivisions.
Gotcha.
And you can look back at these maps and find out lot dimensions and things like that.
So he got it early on, right? Lion was the first one. He died. He gave it to his kids. I was kind of trying to understand this, which is why I called you, because I couldn't really. He gave it to his kids, then his kids started breaking it up and giving it away, right? Or selling it. I noticed a couple names in there. And one of the things I wanted to do with this property is see who owned it and see if there were any famous people, see if there's any history that needs to be known about that maybe hasn't been uncovered. So who are some of the people that are in here that you might recognize?
Well, I see a deed here back in the 1870s to Frederick Hubble and J. Polk. So those two are very famous Des Moines residents, and they formed Equitable Life. And Polk and Hubble, Hubble had purchased the Terrace Hill property.
Well, that was one of their first historical estates, right?
Absolutely.
I do remember
they owned this shortly. They owned this for a short period, and then they sold it to
So did they live in this house, the Hubbles?
It was a fairly short period of time, so I don't know.
Okay.
I can't tell that. I can tell the public records say not the physical use. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe they did.
So when Polk, his partner, now Polk, is he something to do with Polk County?
He is one of the founders of a lot of the areas around here. I don't know about Polk County. That would be his predecessor.
I mean, I'd have to say his family name has to be.
Hubble, Polk. There weren't. There weren't many. That certainly was.
That's pretty cool.
Very possible. And then when they sold the property, they sold it to a gentleman by the name of T.E. Brown, and T.E. Brown developed this subdivision, T.E. Brown subdivision that exists today.
Okay.
That was done back in 1871.
Okay.
And that came from Polk and Hubble. And I think a couple more people had other properties. So that's all came together to, I think his first name is Talmadge. Talmadge Brown. And he developed a lot of historic areas around here, around Brown's Woods.
We've gone through a couple places. We've done a couple other videos over south of Grand, and I know that he was a big part of that as well.
And he liked the nice things.
Probably a pretty wealthy man in his time.
Yes, he could get what he wanted. And this is what he wanted.
So you said around 1870-ish, somewhere in there. So then Sherman Hill became a thing shortly after that?
I don't know about the naming of Sherman Hill. I would say that's very possible.
Okay.
That it was certainly around that time.
I think they came with the historical district. I think it was around 1950s, 1956 maybe.
That could be when
they developed the historical part of it.
When they recognized the incredible importance of places like this that have
National Historical Society. I think that's when they might have entered
things like this are gems. They really are. And the same people that took care of the house and kept it intact. This abstract goes with them. Each one of the people that live here had this in one of the drawers in the house. The whole time.
That's crazy.
And the history of the place, every marriage, if there might be a couple deaths in here, mortgages, deeds, releases, judgments. That is all here. So everybody up until the time when your current sellers got into title, it's all here.
So I still see T.E. Brown.
And T.E. Brown, since he owned the subdivision land, he would be the one that would sell out the lots.
Yeah, and there's the Hubble name. And Hubble's still today Hubble still has a huge impact on the Des Moines Metro.
Oh, absolutely. There were philanthropists, and so were the Polks. Big names in the Des Moines Metro.
Yeah, I have a house currently listed with Embark, which is a builder out of Hubble. They're like that higher end homes from Hubble. So
yeah, still a name.
Still have an impact.
Yep.
I saw something in here that was pretty neat. That opens up. So here's I think this is really cool. It's kind of silly, but you still see the original stamps on these things like that. You can still feel the stamp.
Yeah.
So this has to be like the original. It looks like handwriting. I don't know. Tell me a little bit more about that page.
So what they did then, and what we do today is largely unchanged. We take original documents and we make an abstract, which literally means shorter. We put a shorter entry in here for attorneys to look at and determine the status. Well, I signed these things. This gentleman signed this thing, and he is about a block away from my office.
Yep.
Very near the courthouse, very near the recorder. And this is his ink signature in 1896.
Yeah.
1896. He signed this just like I sign it today.
So how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this about 10 years. I've been a real estate attorney involved in abstracting and real estate for about 32 years.
So if we say in like 100 years from now, they're going to be reading your name. And so when you're famous, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. He signed this one right here.
Absolutely.
Because when we sell it, you're going to do the title update.
I'm planning on being either famous or infamous.
There you go.
One of those two things. But yeah, I love this stuff, and the fact that these remain, it's why they're important, and everybody knows they're important. And when you get this house from you sell it, the new purchasers get this too.
So I Googled abstracts, and it looked to me like there's only 3 states that use them, and there's a couple other ones that kind of use them.
Yep.
That's Minnesota, Iowa, is it South Dakota or North Dakota?
There's places that have chunks of them.
Right.
But there's places who have deemed these things, unfortunately, not as relevant for the old stuff.
Because now they just do what they call title insurance, which they just like what they buy an insurance policy. So if the title's wrong or messed up or they need to fix something, then insurance policy covers it.
And they look at about this much of it.
And this is so much better than that.
Yeah, this is the history.
Yeah.
The probates that are in here would, in this case, I don't think it did. The probates would often tell you how many cows they have, how many chickens, what kind of cars.
Yeah.
That they owned a Cord or a Nash, or everything that they owned would all be spelled out in these instruments.
Was there anything?
For history.
You think there's anything else in here that is interesting or funny or?
Let's see. Well, here's the name: Frederick and Alan Whites.
Okay.
They own the property. It looks like 1919. Those two owned the property. They sold it. Looks like they sold it in the 40s, so they certainly would have lived here.
Okay.
And that is the Whites companies that exist today. Construction, realty.
Yep, I've seen it
It's the
around.
same family.
That's crazy.
Same family. And that was one of the gentlemen that was owners. And his wife were owners right here for those quite a few years.
So right now we're just sitting with 3 people that I recognize, and this is all before 1950.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Absolutely. If walls could talk,
they'd be hollering.
yeah, and they do in this.
Yeah.
This is how walls talk.
Do you ever go over to a friend's house that has an old house, but hey, can I check out your abstract just for fun?
I do, but then they throw me out. But no, they look at it and they
That's
don't.
That's the last time you come over.
They don't really know what it is until we do this.
Yeah, and then it's like,
Tim,
oh,
I'm
wow.
so glad you asked, because this is important.
It is.
It's history.
It's really cool.
In a house this beautiful,
Yep.
and this in its original state.
Yep.
This is fitting.
Awesome.
This is really fitting, and the new purchasers, they don't know what they're getting, but they're going to like
when they buy it. Hopefully they can watch this video and they can see a little little breakdown, so they don't have to call someone themselves.
Absolutely. It's amazing. I'm so glad you asked me about
Well,
it.
I say that. Do you have any more in there you want to look at? Is there anything else you think that might be? Because once you get past 1950, then it kind of.
Yeah. It looks like I don't see any entries that are long in detail. So I don't see any.
I just saw T.E. Brown still in there.
T.E. Brown.
They go back, because this is all 1962, but they still have reference to T.E. Brown.
a lot of times there'll be big entries if there's bankruptcies or foreclosures or
Office of Dog Taxes.
dog taxes, hospital liens.
Oh my gosh.
There's a whole different set of books, some of which are not appropriately named now.
Yeah.
But there's a whole set of books, and you wrote down in those if there's matters that would affect the real estate,
Right.
like taxes, like a sidewalk assessment, or something.
Bankruptcies, divorces.
Yeah. Yep. But I'm looking through this. I don't see big batches of things. I think this is a happy house.
That's good. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, some places, you see quite a few probates or a lot divorces or foreclosures.
Yep.
This is a happy house.
Well, that's good.
I'm not seeing stuff like that, Tim.
Well, I say we might as well give you a tour of it while we're here.
I'd love to see it.
Sound good?
I'd love to see it.
All right. Well, let's go back up front and we'll just walk through the house as it is.
Perfect.
So off the front door, you think probably an office, maybe a piano room?
I would think that, yeah, right in front.
I love the radiator. The radiators are something that I've always really liked because this remind me of when I was a kid because we had a house with a radiator in it.
And that's period appropriate. That's what came with it.
Yep.
These doors. My wife had a historic house up in Oak Park. These are original doors. They're original hinges.
In great shape.
Nothing's been done to this.
Yeah, that's
it
amazing.
survived.
It did.
I really like that.
And then when you come out here into this hallway, I noticed these right away, and they still move.
Pocket doors, yeah.
Like you got to think like the foundation in this was able to keep these from not working at all. But you got this is like kind of this is a big house, right? 3,400 square feet.
This feels big.
And
yes.
you got a big hallway here. It's a grand entrance. I imagine back in the day they had either a nice big desk or
roll top desk,
piano or something. Yeah, roll top. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's got the original registers in the floor.
Hardwood floors.
It's got to be the original hardwood floors. Which is, I mean, they don't look amazing, but when they're history like this, it is amazing. Like the cracks don't matter.
If they
as
look
much.
brand new, that is brand new.
The cracks don't matter.
I think entertaining when I see this.
Yes, absolutely. And then you got the living room in here, which is pretty good sized. I mean, but like you said, entertaining wise, it's probably more just used to entertain your guests and just kind of hang out. I love the fact that they still got the old windows. Now you would think, oh, they need to replace the windows. Not in a house like this.
No.
In my opinion, you just keep them as long as you can. You refurbish them. Big tall windows. All the woodwork's pretty much original. That's cool. I love the little brick in front of the fireplace. Now it looks like they don't use it.
No, but I bet it can be.
I bet it can. You just need to get a fireplace person in here and check it out.
But it is how it should be.
Tall doors.
More
Sliders. Dining area.
Wow.
Back in the good old days, right? They used to have big dinners with family. And this is a big house, so I imagine they most likely had big families. I would assume those are original windows too. Old lead glass.
Yeah, it looks like they even open.
It's great. So back here, this goes back to the kitchen. This goes to the hallway. This back here has to be an addition, which I know this is an addition because there's no basement underneath this. And it's got the newer windows, but honestly, this really helps today's buyer because that may not be enough living space. Right. This just gives you that extra space where you can kind of say, all right, we love the old stuff, but this also has a little feel of the new stuff as well.
The lighting's beautiful in here.
Yep. And they put a bar in here. Obviously, you can move this out pretty easy if you didn't want the bar.
Air conditioned too.
Yep. Yeah. And then the kitchen right here, obviously. We spent some time in here. You notice they've updated it. Mm-hmm. Would you consider this size-wise for a kid? I mean, do you think this was the original, or do you think maybe?
It's a big kitchen, but this is a big house. Mm-hmm. It's set up for entertaining just like it is now. I bet this is how it was.
Yeah, it's crazy how small kitchens used to be and how much they used to cook.
That's right.
I bet it was just one person doing it the whole time. Now we have usually 2 or 3 people helping cook.
Yeah, I love this. And the gas top stove, I love those. That's what I cook on. And
there's just a little half bathroom around the corner there. But I say we head up this really cool stairway.
Yeah.
You know, in today's world, you don't like to hear that creaking, but I love the creaking. It just reminds you of that history of the house, basically. It's not like an annoying creak. It's actually just a nice, welcoming creak, to be honest with you. So up here, you got bedroom, bedroom, bedroom. They did remodel the bathroom. It's really nice. It looks good. But you know, those are sometimes the bathrooms, the place you want to have remodeled. But one thing I notice out here, like you see the crown up around the top.
Yeah.
You may or may not know this, but you know why there's a gap up there?
Why is that, Tim?
Most people think it's like, oh, they didn't make it tight. But with plaster walls, when you put a nail in a plaster wall, it's like putting a nail in concrete.
Right.
And it doesn't work very well. So you actually, in the old days, they had these little hooks and a wire, and that's how they hung pictures on the wall.
Pictures.
Yep. So there's a
Fascinating.
gap there so they can put the hook over it and hang their picture on the wall. Interesting fact, huh?
Yeah.
Full of stupid facts. All right, let's go up that last level.
It keeps going.
So this is a finished attic, which you don't really see these in houses today, but you know, it just does add quite a bit of space. Kind of feels like to me this is an apartment maybe.
Yeah. My wife grew up in Oak Park, and this is
Yep.
where her and her sisters grew up. They had the glass doors. They loved it up here.
finished
They
attic
gave them
area.
the extra space.
Yep.
Away from the rest of the family.
I brought my little
They
8-year-old in
enjoyed it.
here and she's like, I'd put my bed back there. I'd put reading area over there. So, but yeah, so this has a bathroom up here. They've got some plumbing in the wall there. So at some point, someone could have used this for an apartment, like the 3rd-story apartment.
Nice and bright. That's beautiful.
Well, we'll go check out the backyard and then I'll let you be on your way. I do like this backyard area. They've got a nice spot over there to just hang with your friends. I love that brick wall back there. Talk about history, right?
Oh, yeah. It's been there as long as a house.
Absolutely, it has. Well, you going to tell all your friends about this house and maybe one of them will come down and buy it?
I am going to tell my friends. I've already told my wife about it.
Yeah? Well, if she wants to come back through, you let me know.
Absolutely. It's exactly what she grew up with.
Awesome.
Except in 8th scale. Hers was an 8th scale.
Yeah,
Well, this is nice. Look at this guy here.
I know.
Pretty cool.
History, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful from here.
It is. And a beautiful day.
It's a good day to buy a house.
That's right. Well, I appreciate you coming over and
Thank
help me
you.
out. I'll
Thank you
definitely
very
reach out again next time I get a place that warrants a little history lesson.
I love it.
All right. Well,
Thank
you have
you.
a good rest of the day and we'll be in touch.
Thanks.